Okay, guys, how we doing today? So, a little something normal and a little more palatable. Trump administration threatens veto defense bill that only spends $733 billion. So apparently he wants to spend more. That's just perfect. President Donald Trump has threatened to veto a massive defense spending increase for not being quite spendy enough. On Tuesday, the White House issued a policy statement regarding House Democrats' 2020 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, which sets defense spending levels for the coming fiscal year. Democrats in the House are proposing a $733 billion defense budget, an increase of $17 billion over last year's NDAA. That spending boost is nevertheless $17 billion shy of what the Trump administration is requesting. Anything less than $750 billion, the administration argues, will leave America's military unprepared for the security challenges it faces. What security challenges specifically? I guarantee you if you ask them that question, they won't be able to answer it. And is $17 billion really going to make that much difference in the grand scheme of things? I seriously doubt it. I think this may be Trump's way of trying to keep the war hawks and the pro-war people happy. And the defense nuts in the government happy. But you know what? You don't need to keep them happy because they're a toxic presence in our government. They're bad news. You might even call them fake news. See what I did there? It is thanks to our military budget that we lack so much money for proper infrastructure. So it's not like we honestly need to be spending this much money on fucking soldiers and whatnot. The level of funding that would be authorized by the bill, reads Tuesday's policy statement, would not fully support critical national security priorities. If the bill were presented to the president in its current form, his advisors would recommend that he veto it. The Senate passed a $750 billion NDAA in late June with wide bipartisan support. Only 8 senators voted against the measure. The House's slightly leaner NDAA would give the White House less than it wants for things like new nuclear weapons and missile defense systems. But without that money, the administration warns, the U.S. is signaling it's incapable of adjusting its nuclear posture despite a worsening nuclear environment. Why? Because Iran and North Korea? Smaller, less powerful nations that would be stupid to try and launch a nuke because of mutually assured destruction? This is just an excuse to spend money. That's what it sounds like to me. The White House also objects to a number of policy changes House Democrats have included in their NDAA. This includes a prohibition on the Trump administration redirecting any defense funding to build a border wall. The Democrats' bill would also require the administration to file lengthy reports to Congress anytime it deployed troops to the U.S.-Mexico border. Well, that sounds like a complete and total pain in the ass. That's politics for you. But I think that's the real reason why Trump wouldn't want to take this. That it would prohibit from him taking funding to build a wall. He wants that wall, and he wants it bad. And I think it would do a lot to curb the issue of human trafficking and drug muling. So that wall would be great. Absolutely. Not for the reasons Trump thinks it would be great, but it would be great. He thinks it would just keep all the criminals from Mexico out of the United States. Despite Trump's frequent promises to wind down U.S. involvement in Syria, his administration is also objecting to a provision in the House NDAA that would layer more reporting requirements on sending military aid to Syrian rebel groups. House Republicans, for their part, have also come out swinging against spending a mere $733 billion on defense in the coming fiscal year, with Representative Mac Thornberry saying that House Democrats' arbitrarily lower budget puts vital programs at risk. This back and forth between the White House and House Democrats obscure just how marginal the debate over this latest defense spending bill really is. Regardless of whether we settle on a $733 billion or $750 billion NDAA, we will still be spending far too much on a bloated and overextended military that is tasked with doing much more than just protecting the U.S. homeland. There you go! That was my point earlier. It's absurd that the U.S. thinks that the only way we can be secure is if we spend $750 billion or $733 billion. The Cato Institute's Christopher Preble, a defense policy scholar, told. Reason, back in June when it was first surfacing, the problem is we have defined our grand strategy very broad so that the only way we can be secure is if the whole planet is secure. The narrow range of debate on this year's NDAA shows how little interest most members of Congress have in a more comprehensive review of our defense priorities. At times, Trump has expressed skepticism about some of our overseas interventions. However, his administration's latest veto threat demonstrates that he too is committed to funding the U.S. military's current role as global policeman. And that may be because, honestly, I think Trump can only get away with so much. Because his administration is full of so many people who are for U.S. policing and U.S. interventionism, you can only get away with so much with these people. They'll only allow for so much. They'll actively resist if you try and pull them out of anywhere that they shouldn't be, but they want to be. It's like you're dealing with a kid who's trying to penetrate a part of the house you don't want them in, and you're blocking the door and they're just running up against your hand. Only the role is reversed. You're small, they're big. Still, there you go. Trump can only get away with so much. He's tried as best he can to keep our troops out of Syria, but he can only do so much in light of the way the U.S. is right now. It can't be done. It's sad. But you know what? No empire lasts forever. At this point, my greatest hope is that the American empire fails, and that we can somehow survive and start over. Anyway,